Hey you guys! So today I wanted to do kind of an old-fashioned YouTube video, like a story time kind of video. And it is a creepy subject. It's just a family life story. So when I started doing TikTok, which is where a lot of you guys know me from, most of my stories were about my family stories. They were usually about like creepy landlords we had or stalkers we had, and they're all true stories. Now this one's a little unique because it's a paranormal story. I don't know if people like those as much, but I was just thinking about it and I was like, oh, that's really creepy. And one of the things I've done for a really long time, like on TikTok and on YouTube, is I draw a portrait of the ghost associated with the ghost story, but I've never done, I don't think I've ever done one that's just a ghost story from my life, like someone I knew that knew a ghost story. So I did a little sketch. This is an unusual sketch. It's going to be throughout this video. It's not my usual style. It was just playing with like different textures and things like that. So basically what the title says is correct. I was born in a haunted house, I guess. When I was a kid, I always heard stories. They were like famous. Oh, by the way, my shirt is, I borrowed this from my husband. It says Satan is waiting. And then it's like a pinup Satan. Anyway, this was like a famous story in my family growing up. So it was something that was kind of like the stuff of legends in my house. And, you know, people would tell it over and over again. My mom can be easily prompted at any time to talk about this. And if you guys are curious, the way she tells it is really in depth because she was there and I was a baby. It was the first house I lived in as a baby. So I might even at some point have her come onto my channel and talk to her about it if she's not too shy. But she's like the main person who talked about it. And then my sister. So I have 4 sisters, but the sister right above me, just a few years older than me, is the one that, you know, we grew up getting into all the same situations. Now, if you accept the premise that some people are sensitive to certain things, and I don't know, my philosophy in life is very different than a lot of people's, I think. Like, I often feel out of step with people because I really try to be like sympathetic to things and see both sides of things. I mean, I have a few really firm beliefs, you know, but I really try to see all angles of things, which, you know, most people are really binary in all of their thinking now. So I'm not really like that. I think it's possible that people are sensitive to things, but I'm not sure if it's real or not. If I were to think I was sensitive to anything, it would probably be like things to do with being psychic, because I do have kind of an intuitive personality type where I kind of know like something's gonna happen before it happens, or I have prophetic dreams, I feel like sometimes. And I don't know if that's just like a weird series of like consistent coincidences, right? But my sister, if we're accepting that premise that some people are sensitive to ghosts and the paranormal, my sister would be more like that, and so would my mom. And my mom also has always said that she believes she has, you know, the psychic kind of premonition thing too, and that she is a medium. That's kind of something she's always said. So this house we lived in, apparently, by the time I had memories, we already didn't live in it. So they moved out because it was so much. It was on a street called Sunnyside, which I always thought was like particularly creepy and added like a very creepy element to the story. I think it's just that juxtaposition. It's like why circuses are creepy, right? Because they're just trying so hard to be the ultimate source of happiness, and there's too many lights and too much happiness. I really always felt like that when I heard that the street was called Sunnyside. And I've seen the house from the outside several times. My dad always liked to drive by it because he had built this really lame, in his words, not mine, little well out front. And it had just like a few little bricks, you know, and just like a little bit of wood. It wasn't like a functioning well, and he always thought it was funny that no matter who moved in there, they kept that little well like it was a feature of the property. So the house was called Sunnyside. And the art that I'm drawing is the story that I'll probably save for last because I think it's the creepiest part of the story. Now, the initial story, like just the little bits of things. My mom said that consistently when she was in rooms by herself in this house, that things would like be picked up from surfaces, although nobody was picking them up, and flung, right? So she talks about a time that she was in the bedroom all by herself, and the door to the bedroom slammed shut without her noticing and like seeing anybody and that her purse was on the table, like the dresser, the top of the dresser, and that it looked like somebody flung it at her and everything in it flew everywhere. That was one of the stories she always told, is that things would fly around often, and everyone vouched for this. Just to make it like extra creepy, everyone in my house like vouched for the situation. Now, the one story that I find particularly disturbing, and I always felt like it was really scary, like when it got told my whole life, was my sister at the time. So I was like a baby. My sister would have been like 3 or 4. So she comes down. My mom is in the living room. She's sitting on the couch, and that's what I'm drawing. She comes down and she asks for a cup of water, and she goes into the kitchen. My mom says, okay, yeah, you can have a cup of water, just go get it. Like, you know, she's getting to the age where she can kind of get those things herself. Just go in there and I'll be there in a minute. Well, my mom is waiting for her to come back out, and she doesn't come back out. And then my sister appears at the top of the stairs and says, Mom, who are you talking to? And my mom's like, goes to look, and there's no kid in the kitchen. So I know I've heard paranormal stories before, like where there's some kind of like mirroring situation like that, where it looks like another member of your family, but it's not really a member of your family. And, you know, this was upstairs. So the stairs, the way they would have gone through, there was no way for her to like come back, go upstairs. And my mom asked her, like, did you just come down here asking for a glass of water? Maybe it was milk. I'm kind of thinking it was milk, but either way. And my sister was like, no. And where it gets extra creepy is that my sister truly believed, and I don't know if she still believes this, it would be worth asking her, but my sister truly believed throughout her life that that little girl, the spirit of that little girl, whatever it was, again, if we're accepting the premise that this is all real, I believe I've heard that if something's like mirroring your image like that, that it's a demon and not a ghost. But my sister truly believed that this entity was attached to her whole life. I don't know if she still believes that. I do know that when we were older, my dad had a house built, right? So like my parents are boomers. So they always had really, you know, like nice property and things that are harder to come by now. But like this was the only time he had a house built from the ground up. Like I remember going and like checking out while it was being built, while it was just concrete, like standing on it and taking pictures, you know. And he had this house built all the way from the ground up, so you wouldn't expect like anything creepy or paranormal to happen there. But the thing is that the town he had it built in was a really old town. So it's in Waynesville, Ohio. And if you're from there, or if you are from Ohio, you know how every state has those books that'll be like haunted, whatever, like this, there's books that are like Haunted Ohio, right? Or, you know, the most haunted places in your area. Well, Waynesville, it always appears on those Haunted Ohio, the most haunted places in Ohio. It always appears on those. It's a very like, you know, historic town, antique. And so he had his house built there in a new development. But I think that like the town was so old and it had all these ghost stories already. Like they do a ghost tour there. Like you can take this ghost tour like with a horse and carriage around Halloween, which I'm trying to move back to Ohio. I'm hoping I'm there by at least like I can have a lot of September and October there, because the fall there is really beautiful and I'd love to do that ghost tour. But and it tells you all these different ghost stories. So I think there was like energy in that town. Anyway, my sister hated going to this house once it was built. And my dad only lived there for a few years. She swore that she would see the same like spirit of a little girl. I think in her retellings of this, that the spirit never changed ages. So it was always the same age as it was the first time it appeared in that first house. The little girl would always stay that same age and follow her around. That's what she would say, that she would see the spirit. And she particularly said it happened like badly in this house my dad had built in this really haunted town. But there's one more like really spooky story from that area. And it was in that house. Okay. So she would say that she'd see the little girl, but she also would describe this man who looked very vintage, very old-fashioned, wore this red sweater vest, and she would talk about it all the time. And my dad would always swear, like, this house is brand new. It's not haunted. What are you talking about? Like, he always kind of made it like that wasn't possible. That was not happening. And so they moved out of there really quick, and it was really beautiful. Like, they picked everything. I remember they had these like really beautiful like pointed ceilings with skylights. They picked in the living room. They picked the color of all the carpet. Like, this house was like tailor-made for them, so it never really made sense that they moved out. Well, I have mostly lived my life in Alabama. We moved here when I was 8. I think I was going on 9. I really consider myself a Southerner, but there were brief times where we moved back. Like, my life's a mess. We moved a lot. Like, there was a time period where we moved back to Ohio for like a week. Literally, my mom thought she had this job in Cleveland. I hated Cleveland, sorry, but I didn't like it there, so I'm glad we didn't stay, but we were there for like a week. Now, there was another time where we moved back for my 8th grade year. It was also awful because everybody teased me about being from Alabama, and I started lying and saying I was from a military family and that I only lived in Alabama briefly, which is not true. I'm very like a Southerner. Anyway, so we moved back there when I was like 15 for a while. And one time we're at my dad's house. Same house. At that point, he still lives there, but he only lived there for a few years. I'm trying to think. The first time that we would have been in there when we were kids, I guess we would have been like, I would have been like 7? I think it was shortly before we moved out. It was, okay, because I spent a summer there too. After we moved, I came back. So I would have been like 7 then, and I was like 15 then. I think he probably lived there for like 10 years, but that's a really short time for like a house you had built from the ground up. We're all sitting around the table, and Heather's like, I swear this house is haunted. I hate being in it. No one ever believed me. I saw that little girl all the time, and no one ever believed me about it. And my stepmom says, are you gonna tell her? And we're all like, tell us what? And my dad's like, I see him too. He said it just like that. And everybody's like, what do you mean you see him too? Like, you acted like this was crazy. And he's like, yeah, he's sitting at the table when I come in here. And my dad's like really level-headed. Like, he's not like very spiritual. He's very like, I don't know. He was kind of like a radical hippie. So like, he's very like, I don't know. It's not like him to just like tell those kind of stories. He's like, yeah, when I come make my coffee, he's sitting at the dining room table in the kitchen, but he doesn't do anything. He just sits there. He doesn't like try to do anything. He's never done anything nefarious, but would see him all the time. So my sister was really mad, and which I kind of understand, because she was like, you guys always like acted like I was crazy. And he's like, well, I just thought like it would scare you more, and I wasn't seeing him at first. And here's the like really creepy bit about that story, is that my stepmom had a brother that passed, and there's this picture of him that they kept that looks just like what my sister was describing, like a red sweater vest, like really sleek vintage like bridal cream, if you guys have ever heard of that kind of like hair. And it sounded very much like that's what she was describing. Now, I will say this, I don't consider myself like somebody, like, I've never seen a ghost. I'm not gonna pretend. I actually like ghost hunting because I don't believe, so it's kind of like that like Shane Bidet situation where like I want to believe and I want to see the ghost, but I don't. Like, I go a lot, and I know I've had one creepy experience that I will tell another time if you guys would like, or I'll re-upload that video to this YouTube, because we have a whole video, me and Elena, like a ghost hunting video. It's on camera. And basically it was like a knocking on the wall that was impossible, and it's really loud. But anyway, I never physically have seen something like a ghost, like my family claims. But I did have one experience in that same house. Like, and it's not that exciting. Like, this is kind of a lame note to end this on after my sister, but like, I do remember this one time needing to go to the bathroom like late at night, and I was in the room, like in the back of the house was like our room for when we came, and then there was a bathroom, like literally the doors were like this. And I remember just being like so terrified, like this like chill, scared, just horrible, dreadful feeling. And I did never feel right. I do believe in like bad juju. I do believe in that. I'm really particular about where I'll live, and like I believe in energy attached to things. Like that's a fairly firm belief of mine. And I did always feel bad in that house. And I remember like just being like chills and fear and like bolting to go to the bathroom, like literally like terrified to go. And it was just like a little hallway and bolting. And nothing happened, but like I do remember that like intense feeling of fear. So that's kind of the history of ghost stories in my family. I mean, I think there's a little bit more, but it all started in that little suburban, like a small, not like a large suburban home, just a little small suburban home on Sunnyside in Ohio. I don't remember exactly what area that was, but it was this little house and nobody lived there long. Like consistently people were coming and going. Nobody ever settled down there, which was always really weird. And everyone in my family vouched for it. In fact, I'm sure there's more stories about that particular house. If you guys are interested, like I said, maybe I could talk my mom into being on here. I know I don't have a whole lot of viewers here, but I think it'd be really fun to do more videos like this where I sit down and tell you guys stories. Some of the ones that I haven't told so far, I just felt like were really inappropriate for TikTok because some of them have really serious elements that I'd want to treat more carefully than like a quick video. Like situations with people in the South here that were because of really like serious things. So I might do that if you guys want more story times. I have a Skull and Bones package maybe coming, which is really exciting. And I think that I'm going to put that on YouTube and like a whole Skull and Bones history, like this whole in-depth video with pictures and research, because I've been just kind of like unboxing these really cool Secret Society boxes on TikTok in this really short time frame. And it's like, that was cool before I was so shadow banned that no one sees me. But now I'd really like to do like big researched videos on here with the unboxings. So I don't know how long I'll even be here. I might be in Ohio soon, but thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe and please hit the bell because YouTube's really strange about like showing you when I post a video. But I'll see you guys really soon.